reassure you. And would you like to welcome Stuart along? Thank you, Stuart. Over to you.
Thank you, Reverend Bill. How's everyone? Wonderful to see you. Okay, I entitled my talk today, Learning the Lessons and Feeling the Gratitude. So which lessons am I talking about? No, I'm talking about the lessons of life, which can be difficult, even traumatic at times. I know we've all experienced that. This can result in attachments to grief or negative thinking. And I can speak from firsthand experience on that. That certainly happened to me. This talks about releasing attachments and focusing on gratitude and our divine powers. So the power of the month, what are the 12 unity powers? The 12 unity powers are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal. The one for this month is illumination or release. And the final one is life. These are considered spiritual faculties within each individual taught by Charles Fillmore based on the teachings attributed to Jesus. Developing and using these powers is believed to lead to a more abundant life and healing. So the unity power for the month of November is illumination, renunciation, also known as release, which is the spiritual faculty of letting go of what no longer serves us. The corresponding color is russet, the disciple is Thaddeus, and the location of the body is the lower abdominal region or small of the back. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. What's the deal here? What are we even doing in this temporary bodily incarnation of separation? From a Unity Church perspective, we are here to awaken to our inherent divine nature, live in spiritual and practical ways to express God's love and spread that good news to others. The core purpose is to live a life that expresses the truth of our divine selves, which leads to health, prosperity, happiness, and peace. Now, I was at a meeting last week and someone asked me this question: did God create a perfect world? Which I found very provocative, really, and I had to stop and think about it. After all, I said, if we're supposed to experience separation in order to learn lessons here, then I would say yes. If we exist in a training or learning environment, which is this world we find ourselves in, this reality, I would say, yes, it is perfect. So the pioneers of quantum physics began to understand this topic of separation, especially after they viewed the double slit experiment. So what was happening there is if the quantum physicists observed the experiment, the outcome was different than when they didn't observe the experiment. And they started to understand that we are contributing to this reality. We're altering the reality. Just the task of observing the experiment was affecting the outcome. So I've got a quote from Werner Heisenberg, who's one of the grandfathers of quantum physics. He stated, separation of the observer from the phenomena to be observed is no longer possible. That's why you'll hear people in this sort of new thought arena discuss quantum physics occasionally, because it's actually scientific confirmation, really, of what we teach here. So how did we get here? I pondered the following question for a long time after I became aware of the Unity teachings. This is what I used to think about. If we're divine, then how and why did we fall into this experience of separation and forgetfulness? How did we even get here? If we come from source, which I believe we do, how did we fall into this experience of separation in the first place? So I want to touch briefly on Jesus' teachings on separation. In the Gospel of Luke, in chapter 15, he mentions 3 different parables talking about separation, the separation we're in. The first one is the lost sheep. The second one's the lost coin. And the third one is the lost son, otherwise known as the prodigal son. I realize some of us here aren't from a Christian background, so I thought I would read you just the prodigal son parable of those 3. So this is from Luke chapter 15. Jesus said, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So the father divided his property between them. Not long after that, the youngest son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he'd spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I'll set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I've missed the mark against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and now is found.' So they began to celebrate." So I'll just make a few comments on that. Number one of the things for me is there's absolutely no judgment from the Father. It's absolutely a beautiful story. So I know some of us in mainstream Christianity got taught something a bit different, but when I view this from a unity lens, I really see this clearly. And I believe with that parable and the lost sheep, so briefly what the lost sheep's about is Jesus says one of the sheep goes missing of 100, and he goes looking for that sheep and rejoices when the sheep is found. The lost coin is about a lady losing a coin, and then which is a part of 100 coins, and then finds the coin, and there's much rejoicing about the coin. So in all 3 parables, it's about being part of a whole, becoming separate, in other words, falling into separation, and then returning. Okay, so the Buddhist perspective on separation. In the Buddhist perspective, separation isn't a failure, but a normal consequence of impermanence, with suffering arising from attachment and desire, not from the separation itself. We fall into the pain of separation because we cling to things and people, mistakenly believing that they are permanent and that our happiness depends on their presence. That hits pretty hard for me. The solution is not to avoid love, but to practice non-attachment. Understanding impermanence allows for a more genuine, compassionate love that is free from the fear of loss. So the practice of non-attachment, detaching from a person or situation, does not mean ceasing to care. It means relinquishing the need to control the outcome, which frees you from expectations that can strangle a relationship. So that's absolutely in line with the power of the month of elimination and releasing attachments. So more information on the power of elimination and release. In Unity teachings, elimination is the power to release and let go of negative or unhelpful thoughts, habits, and conditions to make space for new positive ones. It involves consciously denying outdated beliefs and clearing out old mental and physical debris through practices like prayer and affirmation. The goal is to achieve a right balance between receiving the new and releasing the old to facilitate spiritual growth and manifest desired outcomes. So you can sort of see where I'm heading here about learning the lessons and not getting stuck there and feeling the gratitude for the spiritual growth. Now, this, as usual, this message is absolutely for me too. It's not, I've been through all this myself. I've had some hard times in my life, some very damaging periods, and I've gotten stuck there for a while, and it's thwarted my growth. I was angry, I was upset, I was hurt. I've managed to release a lot of that. Some things still trigger me, I got to admit, but the Unity teachings have helped me become aware of this. So when I feel those feelings, I try and release them. So how it works: mental cleansing. Elimination involves identifying and consciously letting go of the limiting thoughts, fears, doubts, negative ideas about oneself and the world. Physical and material release. This can extend to physical clutter, unhelpful habits, unhealthy relationships, and anything that no longer serves one's highest good. Balancing giving and receiving. This is a big one too. It's seen as necessary to let go of what has served this purpose, just as it is to receive new ideas and substances to meet daily needs. Making room for the new. This is one I do quite a bit at home, actually. By clearing out the old, one creates space for the new, more positive thoughts, circumstances, and opportunities to emerge and take hold. In fact, I'll tell you something I do with my daughters. Every time Christmas comes around, so this time of the year, I say to my daughters, okay, some things have to leave the house now because some new things are going to come into the house. So what toys or what things do you have that we can pass on to the op shop and someone else can benefit from? And then new things will come in for Christmas. I started doing that really early on when they were young because I knew they'd be motivated to do that with the thought of Christmas coming. So that, and I do that in my life. I try and make space for new things to emerge. Okay, practices and examples. Prayer and affirmation. You can consciously affirm that you are releasing what no longer serves you and making space for the new. Self-reflection. Take quiet time to identify what you need to let go of, whether it's a physical item, emotional baggage, or negative thought pattern. Denial and renunciation. These are terms used to describe the active process of giving up the old and making way for the new. So I think you can see what I'm getting at here. Releasing attached. So this experience is difficult, as we all know, but I've been learning. When I reflect on my life, I just turned 57 recently. I look back and I feel gratitude, you know. I know I've had some hard times, but they've led to awakenings for me and empathies that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I'm very grateful for that. So here's the 5 principles. I love these because these bring me back to what I am, what we are. The first one is God is the source and creator of all. God is the ultimate good and is present everywhere with no other power existing. Number 2, we are spiritual beings. Humans are created in God's image, possessing an inherent goodness and a spark of divinity, often referred to as the Christ Spirit. We create our life experiences through our thinking. Thoughts and beliefs have creative power and can shape our reality and experiences. There is power in affirmative prayer. Prayer is a form of creative thinking that heightens our connection to God or divine source, helping us to access wisdom, healing, and all good things. Number 5, we must live the principle. Simply knowing these truths is not enough. We must actively live them out in daily life to truly experience their benefits. So I got a conclusion here. I wrote myself an affirmation after working on this talk, and I want to give a plug out to the Unity School again, because I learned so much there. We learned to write and create our own affirmations, which was really lovely. So after I worked on this talk, I created this affirmation for myself, which I'm going to say 3 times. I learn lessons from my life and I feel the gratitude. I learn lessons from my life and I feel the gratitude. I learn lessons from my life and I feel the gratitude. I actually feel emotional saying that to you right now because it hits hard. And I've got two quotes for you. I don't know if you've read, probably most of you have explored A Course in Miracles, which was absolutely amazing. And if you haven't read that, I'd encourage you to read it. The main quote from A Course in Miracles, the main one everyone talks about is, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing real exists. Herein lies the peace of God. I'll read that one more time. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing real exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So when the person was asking me, I'd already done the Course in Miracles, I already learned this. So when the person asked me last week, did God create a perfect world? That's why I answered the way I did. If this is a training environment and I'm not actually in any danger because I'm an aspect of God, then I'm grateful for being here. I feel the gratitude. And one final saying from Jesus from Matthew 6:27. I want to say this too. Learning the unity teachings gave me so much more clarity on the teachings of Jesus. It just opened it up for me. So what he says here in Matthew 6:27 is, can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? That means so much more to me now that I've learned the unity teachings, the fact that we're creating our own experience and our own reality. He asks them, can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? I know for me the answer is no. In fact, I might take off an hour or two of my life if I worry. Thank you so much. Love to all of you. There is a song which we're going to go into now, which is called Thank You for This Day, which is in line with what I'm talking about, the gratitude. I've got much gratitude for my beautiful Unity family. Much love to all of you.